Hello, friends. I am your host, Stephanie Goodman. I am podcast owner of I'm No Therapist, and today we're going to introduce my dear friends, Jenni James and her husband, Jason Sabey.
Hello.
They are return guests from a last episode that we had, which was audio. And this time we get to actually have their visual faces available to us. Now, Jenni and I met because she is a screenwriter, and we had a movie that played at our film festival titled Not Cinderella's Type. And they did a phenomenal job and actually won a trophy. And the trophy went to the director. And Jenni opened her eyes to realize the person that does a lot of the work and a lot of the creativity really needs to be able to be recognized. And so Jenni came and we were able to get her own trophy. And this is how Jenni and Stephanie got together. And now we're on South Padre Island. Now we have an unexpected opportunity for us to get together, and we took it. And if you follow us on Facebook, you see that it was quite a trial for Kels and I to be able to get down here. We were delayed by about 2 days just to try and get a rental car and get down here, but that's another story. So today, I want to have Jenni James introduce herself a little bit. And tell us, what is it that you are doing right now?
Right now, so I am currently working on a requested screenplay, Star-Crossed Hearts, and it's really fun. It's about a soap opera who plays a villainess, and she's actually going to go meet her family. She has a DNA matched with family she's never met. And on her way to Flagstaff to meet them, she gets in a wreck in Sedona and ends up in the hospital and meets a handsome doctor. But the town only recognizes her as Veronica, her evil character that she plays. And so is quite confused that she is Cassandra. So it's a really fun one. It's just a fun romantic comedy that, I've just finished. So now I've just finished editing. Now I want to add a couple more scenes, and then it goes to the producer for the very first time, and then we'll see what edits from there.
Well, I know if it's like any of the other movies that I've had the opportunity to be able to see and enjoy, that it will be a phenomenal piece. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Jenni is married to Jason Sabey.
Hello.
And
I'm just like Candy over here.
And they're a family of how many?
What? So we're two. No, I'm just kidding. We have 11 kids. We have 11. I have 7. He has 3, and together we've adopted 1. So
right. So they're a blended family. If you were able to listen to their video before, they told a phenomenal story. If you haven't heard their story, I highly recommend that you go back and have a good laugh. It is so entertaining. But now we get to see their faces. Okay, now I want to go into what this subject is about. We talked about the love languages that we have in our relationships. And I was thinking, as a writer, you kind of have to know some of the characteristics of the people that you are writing about, right? And love language, understanding love language really helps us to connect. Helps us connect with characters, helps us connect with family members, helps us connect with our spouses. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And if you haven't heard of love languages, this is a concept that was written by Gary Chapman. I almost said Stevenson. Gary Chapman in 1992. And his idea is that there are 5 love languages. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But we just may have a forgotten love language that we want to introduce to you. So back to the idea of characters in a movie needing to have a discovery or a character strength, I guess, and being able to bring other characters together and help them fall in love, but also help you to fall in love with that story. What are some of the love languages that you were familiar with, and where were you first introduced to love languages?
Do you want to go first?
Oh, no, you go first. You got this. Actually, I do want to say something. Just so you know, just kind of fill in, Jenni also is a published author. She has 50 books published, another couple already written. And so not only in books, but in movies, but in books, these love languages are important because you have to, it's how people fall in love is through these things. Go ahead now. There's my 2 cents.
So I first heard about the book Love Languages, the 5 love languages, when I was in Portugal. I was living in Portugal. My ex-husband was in the military, and we were on a little tiny island in the Azores. And I was a mom with 3 kids and pregnant with my 4th when that concept came in. Reading that book for the first time, I mean, it made me really ponder and wonder what mine was, because I could definitely relate to all the love languages. But immediately, right off the bat, I realized my ex-husband was touch and quality time. And so it enabled me to be able to focus on those. And then not only that, find different love languages for each of my children and how they accept love and how they respond best to love. And it's kind of been a fun, fascinating thing watching them grow and become adults and just see who and what they become and how they, how they recognize their own love languages. It's just fun.
I love that. For me, I was introduced to it when I was living in West Valley. I had a situation in my own family where I was trying to really kind of connect with my husband. And I really felt like something was missing, like we were not connecting together. And so I went to the library there, and this book just kind of jumped out at me. You know how you go into a library and sometimes a book will really get your full focus other than some of the others? Well, this was the concept for me. And because it was an audiobook, I've talked about how audiobook is my favorite. But because it was an audiobook,
that's because the words are your love language.
What? Definitely. Words of affirmation are a huge part of my personality. I love words. I love the way that they describe things, and I love how they make people feel. And when I want to express my love for someone, I use the words, right?
I can't imagine you getting along with an author and screenwriter, somebody who does words for a living. I mean, this wasn't a pairing that we could see coming.
But we've had a lot of fun with it, haven't we?
You guys do.
Yeah, let's not worry about spelling though.
We'll get love you.
Just fine.
That's why we're friends, Stephanie, is spelling.
I love him. I can love anybody.
So yeah, I got to learn about the 5 love languages, and I really kind of struggled with how do I determine what the love languages are. Okay, so really quick, I want to share with you what the love languages are for those who are not familiar with it. So words of affirmation, as was talked about a little bit, meaning that when you express love, this is the way that you express it through words. And if you want to hear love, this is the way that you receive it. Physical touch is a big one. Most men are physical touch. Women are physical touch. We embrace often, right? I'm a hugger, so physical touch is an important one for me. Gifts, receiving gifts or gift giving, and then quality time and service. Those are your 5 love languages. I put up 10. 5 love languages. And Jenni and I were talking because I was asking her, what is your love language? And she brought an interesting idea. And Jenny, I'm going to turn it over to you to let you introduce this.
So a couple of years ago, maybe it's about 3 or 4 now, I realized that there's missing a love language. And a lot of people in this world actually have it. And I don't think it was even thought of at the time when the book was written. But my love language is food. And and I mean it, like that is how I share love. That is how I accept love. It is how I do my service. I will make a meal for somebody who's sick. It's how I give gifts. I love my pies. I love to make pies for people or any type of meal. Quality time, just sitting us around that table and allowing everybody to have that family quality time from a meal is something that's huge. Words of affirmation, when people tell me they want the recipe, or touch, I think taste, you know, that texture in your mouth. It's something that is very, very, very important to me. And I think a lot of times food is all of the love languages blend together. If you're a foodie like me and you're somebody who just loves to express love through food. And I mean, it's the first thing I'll ask you. Have you ate? Are you hungry? Do you need something? Would you like a drink? Would you like, I mean, you walk in my house and I don't care who you are. You're a stranger on the street and I think you look thirsty. I'm going to give you some water. Like it's just, I can't not help but feed people. And if you think in your life, you know a lot of people whose love language is food. There's a lot, mostly women, but there's a lot of women out there like aunts or grandmas or somebody that their love language.
Well,
is
I was
food.
always told by my grandma that if you wanted to really connect with a man, you fed his belly, right? Steak and potatoes. If you want something from the man, give him steak and potatoes. But I believe that my daughter, Christina, is very much the love language of food. She, ever since she was little, she always has snacks on her. She's got candy. She's always got something available. And I think also she enjoys being able to have something available. If you're in need of something, she's got it. She's got your back, right? But also she's never without. I also know that this love language of food has expressed itself into a wonderful restaurant that you and Jason own. And if I could recommend anyone with taste buds, you need to go down and enjoy the delight that will come to you from experiencing your restaurant, and let them introduce the restaurant and how long they've had it.
That's your baby.
So we opened the restaurant about a year and a half ago. You know, the smartest thing you can do during a pandemic is open a restaurant. I mean, it takes a lot of courage. Yeah, that's the right word, courage.
Cojones.
Or possibly smart. I don't know. Anyway, so we opened a restaurant about 18 months ago, middle of the pandemic. And it's Shep's Grill and Market. It's in the middle of Fountain Green, Utah. So it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, only place in town. And we make a mean burger. We
Best
have
burgers in
buffalo
town.
burgers. When Jen's in town, we have pies and shakes and ice cream.
Ice cream.
And
Nice.
she doesn't do Mary Calendar pies. Marie Calendar. She does not
Yeah.
do those. These are homemade.
We're
fresh
talking
from
about
scratch.
we're talking about love language. So all the sauces are made from scratch.
The
The
custard.
ranch, the custard pies are made from scratch.
Ranch pie. But
Yes.
yes, the ranch dressing.
The ranch dressing
All of
for
our
the
salad
salads.
dressings are from scratch. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we kind of have
And so Jason, do you have a favorite of those pies that she makes?
banoffee.
Banoffee. Oh, banoffee is so good.
Graham cracker
will you-
crust,
Yeah, there we go.
caramel, bananas, whipping cream, chocolate.
Chocolate
On top.
sprinkles.
Sprinkles
It
on
is.
top.
Oh, it is to die
It's
for.
a British pie. When I lived in England, I did not leave that place without getting that recipe. That was an amazing pie. And we make the homemade caramel sauce too. So it's really fun.
So I want to go back to the 5 love languages, okay? Because this is a concept that I've been thinking about for a while. I kind of feel like there's not 5 love languages, but maybe there are 4 love languages if we add the food love language on there, right? Because there's the idea, words of affirmation, that is quality time, right? And it's also service. You choose to give service to someone else and sharing your thoughts and your heart with someone. Physical touch is service or receiving service, and quality time, physical touch, in my opinion. And gift giving, quality time, right? And so is service. Love language of food. Quality time, it's the service that you put into making the food that makes it special. Like we taste the love, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
so with that concept, do you feel that maybe you would be able to connect with your children or your spouse, understanding those love languages even more?
So what do you mean? If you don't have service in the mix as a love language?
That service, yeah, service and quality time, if those are not in the mix, but they're complementary.
I have
already.
I have incredible friends. I have a sweet Hawaiian friend who you just in her living room, just being with her and talking 2, 3 in the morning. It is such a quality time. It's just her, she needs to just be with you. It doesn't even matter what you do. You don't have to do anything. You could watch a movie together. You could ride in the car together. You could do anything. But that quality time was her love language. And it was this incredible, like she opened me to quality time in a way that I never quite understood, just being with someone. And I think, as a spouse, that's like the way that we connect really, really well is our quality time. Jason's definitely a quality time guy.
Are
Sometimes
you using words when you're having that quality
we don't
time?
have to, like when he
Are you
fishes,
touching when you have that quality time?
you don't have to. When he's fishing, I can be just next to him, working, editing, doing anything on my computer. We never say a word, but he has to turn around and show me his fish, when after 20 minutes when he catches one or something. Quality time's like a magical, I don't know. I look at it too, is when I'm praying, I give a lot of quality time to the Lord, and just wait and just bask and just.
I think the love language is all intertwined and kind of
Yes, I
together.
think they all.
I think I don't necessarily. So when I look at the children, we have 11 kids, so we get to practice a lot. Sometimes a little more than should be. But
Really
I
stellar quality
think
time.
each of the kids have their own little thing, and it's not always the same. It's not like we've got an autistic son, and touch is not his favorite love language.
Mhm.
He did, but we sit and chat and talk with him, and he will talk about books and about he's learning to write, and he's creating his own world, kind of a Brandon Sanderson type writer. And he'll say, you get him talking about that, and he'll talk about it for hours. And that's his quality time, is living in this imaginary world that he creates and does. And so I think each of the kids have their own little thing, but it's a kind of a mixture of them. I don't think any one person is just, okay, touch, okay, you're good. I think it's a mixture. And I think when we sit and read these things, this is how I do love, but we're more complex than just putting it into a box too.
I love that you brought that up, because I absolutely agree with that. I feel like we go through different seasons of embracing
What
that
you
love
need more.
language.
Or different needs in our life. I mean, when there's a death or something hard happens, we might need to be held, and we might need that physical touch more than it. And even when your children are smaller, they need to be held, and they need that physical touch more. I mean, my 7-year-old will climb on my lap and I'll hold her. Now, if my 17-year-old was climbing on my lap and I told her, that might be a little bit on the weird side.
Well, I don't know how many we had one daughter that loved to climb onto my husband's lap whenever she has the opportunity. She still loves to be held like that. So,
but it's still different. It's a
daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think our needs change as we go through life. I mean, when we're young and small, we may need to be held, or we may need a And I think our way of expressing and doing it, our love matures too, as we, I hope mine's matured. Maybe not, mine might be the same, I don't know.
The kids are really funny though. They know that if dad's in a bad mood, all they have to do is just kind of get behind him and he's like, you guys get your room.
I have like,
Don't move.
I have like
Don't
4
move.
stepdaughters, and I'll be just mad, and they'll all just come and one around one shoulder, one around the other shoulder, one around the head, and I'm just like,
You guys win. Don't worry. They get out of chores and everything. They learn real quick. Like,
kids are smart.
They
Watch out,
are
they're evil.
smart. It's so true. When I was younger, I had a very sensitive neck, and so anything that I would do, and I'd be upset if my brother came up and touched my neck, I would be just almost in a stage of what freeze? I don't know. I can't think of the right word, but I could not
wait,
react.
I'll show you it. It's this. He hates it when I touch his neck. I can touch anywhere else. But then I swear, one day I'll be like just teasing and putting my hand there, and then he's gonna choke himself because I can't get my hands out.
If I found Dad in a ditch, choked to death, she did it.
He wouldn't let me. I'd still be sitting there. Ow!
You would be with the evidence, right? Red-handed.
All right, back to love languages. We digress.
Well, I think it's important too to understand a love language can be used when someone's angry, right? Can you?
It's sometimes best though. I mean, when somebody's angry and they're just upset and mad at the world, you can literally change their whole perspective with just showing them love. Because a lot of times our first response is, okay, you want to fight? Let's go. Okay, maybe that's my first response. But a lot of times you're just like, what? I never said that. But if you stop and step back, and like for me, I offer him food. And he's always like, I don't want pie. No. And he'll like walk away or whatever. And I'm like, honey, come on. Come on.
Just
But
a
if I start
And then her
rubbing,
feelings are hurt because I didn't eat the
but if
pie.
I start rubbing his shoulder or something, what's going on? He just melts.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm giving him my love language, isn't necessarily his.
Yeah.
So I have to remember.
Yes.
I'm showing him that love.
This, I love that you
This
brought
food,
that up.
It's the last thing he wants is that. But maybe just hold him.
Yeah.
Maybe just tell him, you know, walk in and hug him. And then he just kind of like, okay, sorry. What's going on? You're kind of ornery.
I love that you said, this is my love language, and maybe he doesn't receive that. And so I've got to go and find what his love language is, and how he receives it. So there was a test that was shared with me on how to find out what your love language was. And the idea is that think of someone who you have not seen for a long time. Maybe it's someone who's no longer on this earth with us, right? They show up at your door. How do you respond? Do you want to make sure that they're fed? Are you reaching out and giving them a huge hug? Do you ask verbally? How are you doing? Right? Are you giving them gifts?
So when my dad was dying and he was in hospice, he could barely speak. And this was just a few months ago. And he could barely speak. And one of the things we finally, like the Saturday before he died, we were able to brush his teeth and get his hair cut. And I cut his hair and I brushed his, and my sister brushed his teeth. She's a dental hygienist. So did everything, you know, and we shaved him and my other sister shaved him and we were able to just get him as clean as possible. And he was just like, oh, just being clean for him was just huge. But the other thing that he asked for was key lime pie. And I was like, I am on that. I can do that. And I got to make, you know, my from scratch key lime pie for him. And that's one of his very last meals that he had, the last thing he accepted, you know, to eat. And it was just this wonderful moment because, you know, when
I'm going to back up a little bit before that. When we were in the hospital, he'd had strokes and he couldn't swallow.
Yeah.
And Jenny and her dad, their own love language for each other was water.
ice water.
They drink a gallon of ice water, and he always had ice water. and he was just parched, and he just wanted ice water, and he couldn't swallow. And so Jenni was taking tablespoons, because that's all they'd allow him to have of ice water. He'd choke on it, and giving him tablespoons of ice water.
128 tablespoons is half a gallon. And that was our goal every day, to make sure my dad had at least 128 tablespoons of ice water. And for the first 2 days, they wouldn't let me in because of my mom, and it was COVID. But yeah, once I got in and I saw his chapped lips, and he's like, water. And I was going, the water's warm. He's like, that's all they're giving me, and he tried to tell me. And I immediately went and found the ice. And then the lady's like, no, he can't have it. He can't have it. I'm like, what can he have? And then that's when they said, well, if you can give him a tablespoon, that's what he can have. And I said, hey, Dad, we're going to do this. We're going to do this, me and you. And he just wanted it and wanted it and wanted it. And finally there came a point where he wasn't so parched anymore. And he felt like, and he knew he was going to get it again. I said, I'm going to be back tomorrow, and you're going to get 128 tablespoons again. As soon as we hit 128, then we just stopped counting, and I just keep refilling and giving him more. So for me, that was an amazing service to give my dad, but in a way that I understood, nobody else would understand how much that water, he needed that more than anything. They're like, he's on an IV. He's not dehydrated. I'm like, but he thinks he is. He thinks he is, because he can't have that.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. I think that's so beautiful. And I love that you are so much aware of the things that he needed, that you were able to gift him those kinds of things. And isn't that what we want to do? Is we want to be able to serve those that we love, so that they can be comfortable in whatever the circumstances are.
And I think that's the purpose of love languages, is we learn what other people's love language is. It makes it so we can serve them better in the way that they need it, instead of the way we need it. Jen will bring me food, and when I'm mad, I don't eat.
He won't eat.
I won't eat. I could go a week without eating, and I'd be fine.
You rub his shoulders a little bit.
Then I'll eat.
Yeah.
Calm me down, and I'll eat.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to serve others.
Yeah, I agree. When Kels and I had this recent stressful situation, I close down. I don't talk, because I am words of affirmations. But Kels knows that when I'm in a situation like that, and I was able to kind of express to him, just hold me, just hold me. He knows that at some point he does what's called releasing the flax cords, and he'll just put his shoulders up, or my shoulders, and just move the energy down my shoulders, and somehow that is so soothing for me, and just awakens me. And I love that he knows that about me, and that we can help each other through hard times. Wow, this has been so delicious, and I know that we could continue on for hours and hours talking about this, and I hope that this conversation has brought some ideas to my listeners, that you can look inside, find out what your love languages are, and look for ways to serve each other. Speaking of love languages, I would have to put on there nature. The gift of nature is definitely a love language that I think most of us speak. And being here on South Padre Island has fed my nature love language. We're talking dolphins. We're talking the sound of the ocean, the sound of the waves, the sound of the
sunset,
sun,
The turtle paradise, the bird refuge.
yeah, butterflies.
Butterflies.
So if you're a love of nature, I highly recommend that you get your bottom down here to South Padre Island. And maybe you'll have incredible friends like we do, Jenni and Jason, to be able to share incredible times and meals and games and good times. Thank you again.
It's a new tradition, podcasts in South Padre Island. I like it.
I'm
I'm all
all for
for it. Let's do this, baby.
Jason
This
and
is
I-
my favorite. I think we should do this
Jason and I
one.
need the ocean to survive, so. when
Yes.
Kels and Stephanie introduced us. I was writing a screenplay for Kels, and we went down to, what's it called, where you're like. Scout for locations.
Yeah.
Let's
Say it,
put it in
finish
the
her
screenplay.
language.
Location scouting.
In October, we went down and I fell in love with it. I was like, I have to bring the kids. I have to bring the kids. So when my dad died, we brought my mom and my youngest 3 just for her to get away. And she's reconnecting with the
He's
ocean.
gotta end-
Oh,
he's
they're
gotta- he's
ending.
gotta end
They're
the
ending.
podcast.
Sorry.
Sorry, we're going long, but I think there should be a tradition, South Padre Island, every 6 months do a podcast.
I mean,
it's a
we'll have
business
new
expense,
chapters
right?
every time that we come, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. This is awesome.
Let's do it.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, friends. We love you so much. Thank you for following us. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can watch these videos on YouTube. I highly recommend that you join our tribe.
I'm no therapist, but